I'm Roslyn Kind, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Ann and Damien.
The other night we were watching a clip and I kind of sworn that someone like did a slide, which I've remembered how much I enjoy them. Like I'm not talking about like an actor slide, like an actor like what we do to warm up our theoretically like, quote unquote warm up our voices before we record, where you're like, ooh. Anyway, what I'm talking about is like when someone like slides in and they're like sliding into like I don't know, I'm not a musical person, but like are you sliding into a bigger note? Are you sliding up to like change the key? I don't know what it technically is doing, but I feel like we were just watching this clip and I couldn't remember what it was. It was two people.
Was it the Dreamgirls clip? No,
we were watching it the other night at our holiday clip party.
Yeah.
But then I was remembered. Okay, so when I was in high school, we did Hello Dolly, and there was a woman who was brought on to help like be an acting coach. So basically like we had a staff that was involved with our shows, and it was like our director, who was horrible and did nothing, and then we had a music director, and then there was also like there was the Debs, they were like alumni who helped, and they were moms, and one of them was the choreographer, and one of them would do like the set and the art direction, and then the husband of the one Debs, John, he did like all the he built the sets, but then other Deb like helped artistically design them. And then this woman, Christine, came on my senior year, and she was the wife of an alumni. Like Christine joined as like a volunteer, and she was like the acting coach because of course the director was not doing anything. She would just like give us line readings. Your notes would be like her giving you a piece of paper that would be one of your lines, and it would have some like a word underlined to be like, you have to hit this word in your line reading. So like teaching. Anyway, the new Christine, she would work a lot with me and my friend Alex, who was playing Dolly. She would work with us a lot and do scene work with us. And Alex was playing Dolly. I was playing Horace Vandergelder. And Christine had like played Dolly like in regional productions. It was like one of her roles that she had done. So I remember she would like sometimes give Alex like some of her tricks. And I remember one of them, I think it was in So Long Dearie. It was a slide, and it was like that please, where she's like, please, and she like slides up on the note, and that's what has brought me back. So hello, Ann, and hello, listeners. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode of You Might Know Her From.
With Ann and Damien. I'm Ann. This is Damien. This is our podcast where we shoot the shit with each other about all the artistic and pop culture-y comings and goings of our life. And, you know, we're old at this point, old friends and longtime collaborators. And this is our show where we get to do what we do and then interview a character actress each and every episode. So welcome to the last show of 2025. We're so glad to have you here. Damien, my question for you is, was Christine paid or was this a volunteer position?
I believe it was all, I mean, I really have no idea, but I'm like, I would put money on it was no money.
Right.
But I think she took over for my director once she retired. So maybe, I guess it all paid off.
I'm happy for her. Imparting old theatrical tricks and things that are surefire bets. Did it work for Alex? Did it get a reaction from the audience?
I think so, because Alex was a really talented singer. So I think it was like a cool trick for she was a much more talented singer than she had any business being as like a 17-year-old. And then therefore to have this like thing that got to show off what she was able to do, I think was really cool. Also, you know, it's like those are things you discover right as you're like learning, like what you can do, what's in your bag of tricks. And so I'm not sure that like getting a line reading, we're not learning anything either. So I know some way it was just like, thought it was cool that Christine was like, I did this, so try this.
Right. And if you're going to get a line reading, you might as well get it from a regional production, Dolly herself.
Well, right. And the slide at least is a cool trick. It's like, like try this, opposed to being like, say this line, emphasize this word, but like not telling you why. You know what I mean? Like, the slide is just a trick.
It's good. It's good. Let's find Christine and see how she's doing.
I friended her on Facebook, and I think she declined because she was probably like, I don't, you know, like you were a kid, and I was you're like, you know.
Okay, but now she's 60 probably. So, right?
Something like that. Probably in her like late 50s, early 60s.
Right. We are doing the best we can to stick and stay in the holiday spirit. And I have to say that this month's guest was a complete and utter doozy of a surprise that we just thought we would never land. And it feels like it's really tied a full circle bow from 2024 to 2023 for me personally. And I honestly just can't believe that we got to talk to the one and only Roslyn Kind.
I mean, for me as well, it is the holiday season, and we are tying it up all in a beautiful Roslyn Kind bow. Roslyn came to my attention within the 2024, maybe end of 2023, but I think it was 2024, and I believe it was because we were consuming ferociously Barbra Streisand's 900-page magnum opus, 900-page biography, memoir, autobiography, memoir, whatever we're going to call it. And I think at some point I was like researching her to be like, does she have family? Like, does she have siblings? Right. And found her sister was a recording artist. And then I was like in a Lorna Luft moment. So I was like, wait a minute. Roslyn Kind has an incredible singing voice and an incredible career. And so I was like listening to her recordings. I was sending them to Anne. Anne gifted me, I think for my birthday, a framed picture of like Rosalind's, like one of her, a poster for one of her early tours. And I'm just such a fan of Roslyn Kind. We had her year of Barbra, and it felt like what better way to close that chapter than open the one on Roslyn Kind. We also got to go to a screening of A Star is Born starring Barbra and Chris Christopherson, and we went mere days before our interview with Roslyn Kind, and it is appropriate because Roslyn Kind actually makes an appearance as a Grammy. She's an attendee at the Grammy Awards in A Star is Born. And so it felt appropriate that we're like, oh yeah, we're seeing this in the theater, where we went with our friend Brendan. We're like, we're seeing this in the theater as research for our Roslyn Kind interview. And folks, I just can't say enough. I think you just got to get to it, and then we'll come back here and recap.
You might know her from The Look of Love / The Island,
3 from Brooklyn,
The Nanny,
I'm Going to Be Famous,
Ladies of the House,
Gimme a Break,
and her over 50-year illustrious recording career. I can't believe today is the day we are here with none other than Roslyn Kind. Roslyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
We are so delighted because, you are a true multi-hyphenate actress, singer, entertainer, and most recently, you produced and starred in the musical short film The Look of Love / The Island, bringing together 2 of your signature songs in this narrative love story. So talk to us about what inspired the project for you.
Well, you know what? all of the videos that I had done previously were all from stock footage. I knew I owed myself one that I'm in, because everybody said, why aren't you in your videos?
Yeah.
So this one was still to be done, and I thought it would be lovely to do and to be in. And I had a scenario for it, which my director helped bring to fruition. And my co-producer, we all worked, our DP, to make it come to life. Basically, these are 2 songs that I used to do in my show for years. I first did The Look of Love. That was like in my first show when I first started.
Yeah.
It was when people were saying, she's only 18. What does she know about love? Love is love.
Yeah.
Whether it's familial, whether it's friendship, whether it's a lover, love comes from the heart. They're all a little different, but they can bring the same reaction and feeling of happiness when it's there. So I did that song for the longest time on its own. And then in the 80s, I think it was the 80s, I added in The Island in one of my shows. And I did a whole thing with doing, Norman, it's the loons. And pardon me while I get laid. And I put a couple Hawaiian lays over my head.
Yeah.
And then I went to this whole thing with The Island, And next time I was putting a show years later, I thought to myself, I said, I wonder what these 2 songs would sound like together as a storyline. And so I put it together with my then musical director. And I did it for the longest time with either just piano or with a trio. And now I said to my record producer, I really wanted to record it. And so we did the record. It was recorded before the pandemic. But because of the pandemic and all these other things, and I started editing some other stuff, it took a while to get to this. But I think the timing was right.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, I just had this feeling because to me, singing is acting. Acting is singing. It's a 3-act play in a song in a few minutes.
Completely.
Because to me, somebody who sings and has no feeling, it should make your heart move in one way or another. Sometimes they say the hair stands up at the back of their neck or on their arms, but there should be some feeling.
What do you think of somebody who is a great actor when they sing, but they can't bring that same acting to the book without the music? You know what I mean? There's some people who really connect, but then the minute they're not singing, they're not. It's interesting.
The minute they're not singing, they're not? Or is it the minute they're acting and then they sing and they don't?
Well, I'm talking about the reverse, where someone's a great singer who connects emotionally, but then when they are just acting dialogue, they can't tap into that. It's so interesting how music can bring that out in some people.
Probably can make it easier for some people. I have never experienced that myself, so I don't know, what to say about that. Because normally it would be the singer who doesn't quite have acting chops, or the material that makes them tell the story from their heart.
It's a beautiful story. I want all of our listeners to go watch it. You also get to the story is sort of a look back, and there's a younger version of yourself in the film. Can you talk about what it was like to actually cast an actor as younger, you?
Well, it was funny. Actually, my director, Monique Impagliazzo, and my co-producer, Malakana, did the initial search. They went through a lot of people. And then they brought me the runners up, the people that would be.
Right.
And it was amazing because Jules Ungaro, who played me, when I first met her, it was uncanny. Malik had known her for years, and she kind of looked like me.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Unreal. We were at a party last week, and we looked at hands. She's, my God, your hands almost look the same.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So it was very interesting because I met with a few girls, but she seemed to be the one with the right energy. Plus, she was a dancer, and I needed to have a dancer. I said, This girl must be a dancer because she's got to move sensually.
She was great, honestly.
Yeah, she was great.
Talk to us about how actress Tracy Toms got involved, because she makes a brief appearance as well.
Yes, she does. She makes a cameo. We have a mutual friend, Sargon Yosef, actually. And I met Tracy through Sargon. And we were talking because the scene, my statement throughout this video, several statements about love is love, and that anybody who, any type of love is still love. Nobody has the right to tell you who to love, where to love. We should all be happy that there's love in the world, And so in our cafe scene, when I discover my long time ago lover, I wanted the tables to have the setup of, older, younger, mixed couples, gay couples, I needed that so it was subliminally.
Mm-hmm.
Subliminally saying, it's okay, folks.
Right.
You should love this. It was very important to me to make that social comment. And so Tracy's great. She's great. So because of our friendship, she kindly said she would love to do it.
That's sweet.
So she was there right on time.
She's a pro. She's a pro.
Everybody loved having her on the set,
Yeah.
Roslyn, you sort of hinted at the beginnings of your career when you were singing The Look of Love. So just to set this up for our listeners, you got signed to RCA when you were 17, and your first album, Give Me You, is incredible. It's Ann and I were talking about it, and it feels like it gives shades of Shirley Bassey and Petula Clark. You had this meteor, you were on the rise. You were on Ed Sullivan that same year. You watched your sister ascend at a young age, and then you also experienced this whirlwind exit from Brooklyn to Hollywood. Who were your influences as a young artist? What records were you wearing out? And how did you find that Roslyn Kind style?
I was a child of Motown, but also the English invasion.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Okay,
and
yes.
when you say Shirley Bassey, oh, I always loved her drama. You hit it
Yes.
right on the nail head. I love Shirley Bassey's feelings. She puts it out there. And
She's
so
connected. She's locked in. Yeah.
I definitely, I definitely associated with her immediately. And so I might have pieces of her within me, because I mean, but I listened to like Marianne Faithfull, Cilla Black, Petula Clark. It was up that whole England, the Beatlemaniac.
Yeah, and you do some Beatles covers in your early days, like on the Ed Sullivan Show. You did a couple Beatles songs, and like you have these incredible arrangements that like they're like not recognizable, but they are like they're just so distinctly you, which I think speaks to like the style that you were developing as a young artist.
Thank you. And it's come full circle. Although in my later shows, recently, we even put Fool on the Hill in my show because I talked more about my beginnings and my history and all that kind of stuff. And we did it, and we almost did it like the original arrangement, which was a Lee Holdridge arrangement.
Also, I never even connected that like Dusty Springfield and The Look of Love is also sort of part of that blue-eyed soul British invasion, time as well.
Exactly. And also in 1969, I guested on a Charles Aznavour special, and Dusty was on it as well.
That's right. Yeah. So cool.
Did you have any interactions with her? Like, what was that?
No, I didn't. I actually didn't. As a matter of fact, she did duets with him, and basically, she oversized him so much that she towered him. He's a little guy.
Yeah.
So although we planned for me to do a duet with him, they nixed it because she was already towering over him. So many takes of the songs they were doing. So I was filmed on my own with the 3 or 4 songs that I did all around the south of France.
So perfect transition because, your career as a chanteuse has sort of taken you all over the world, and you've played all of these major houses like Carnegie Hall with Michael Feinstein, the Persian Room at the Plaza, 54 Below, the Catalina Grill, Hollywood Bowl, the Venetian Room in San Francisco, the Playboy Club, the Flamingo in Vegas with Louis Prima, which is incredible. Like, what is your favorite room that you played, and who, like, of that genre, like, who is your favorite cabaret star?
Oh my gosh. I would have to say also, Shirley, when she was still doing that. I never understood that she didn't become bigger than she did.
Right. Is she bigger in the UK? Like, I know she's I think she's an OBE there. I don't know if they have a different relationship because she's like a hometown girl. But I agree. I feel like her legend doesn't loom as large in the US.
She gave me goosebumps. And you watch her enter with her arms, with her gowns and everything. She just floored me. I love that.
Yeah.
I used to love Johnny Mathis too. Love
incredible.
Mathis. I guess I love balladeers a lot better, but I was still, in the genre of the pop. The pop era, more, which then pop was people like Dusty and Dionne Warwick and all the people. But I also love ballads. I love songs that told stories. I love theatrical pieces.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is Meadowlark from The Baker's Wife.
Of course. Beautiful.
Such a good one.
And I didn't associate it with the show. When I did it, I related it to my own life. So it had a whole other dynamic reading.
Did you have interactions with Louis Prima in Vegas at all? He was sort of somebody that Damien and I were both interested in.
We were actually doing our separate shows in the same room. And after he left, Bill Medley came in.
Okay.
In those days, we were doing a month at a time. So every 2 weeks, a new act came in.
Yeah.
So I had 2 weeks with Louis Prima and 2 weeks with Bill Medley.
It's wild.
And he was with Sam Butera and the Witnesses. It was a very strange thing. We really didn't have a lot to say to each other. He used to sell his CDs and people would leave the room when I'm about to come on.
You're like, this is not helpful.
But I remember, though, when he was leaving at the end of his 2 weeks and he was coming out of the elevator at the Hilton, I said, well, I heard you're finishing tonight, Louis. I said, I just wanted to say goodbye. He said, yeah, well, lots of luck, honey.
Thank you. So your mother, Diana, was a soprano and had quite the voice on her, but, never pursued it professionally. You've talked openly about caring for her towards the end of her life, and I was wondering how much of how much music was a part of the time that you two spent together in that last stretch of years of her
Oh,
life.
music is everything with anybody with
Yeah.
autism. Music brings back memory. I even did a gig in I think it was Cincinnati, maybe it was Cleveland. Where is the university, the big university?
In Columbus, I
since
think. Ohio
Maybe
State is in
Columbus.
Columbus. Mhm.
Because I did a facility there that was working with Alzheimer patients. And I came and I did a show for their families. And then I did an afternoon with the rabbi playing his guitar and singing with them.
I love that.
And they come to life. They come to life. It's so, my mom didn't always remember lyrics, but she, the smile would come on her face. And even if it was a dot, 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 it made her happy, And
Yeah.
that's the bottom line, to make them happy, because, oh God bless everybody. God watch over it, because it's a horrifying disease. My mom was so sharp. And hers came about because of late in life open heart surgery
Oh, okay.
and being off, the heart and lung machine and all that thing. She was so sharp, but little by little, she started to dwindle. And I have to say, she loved music. Even at times when she was in the hospital, I would bring my sister's records, my records. I would bring Mama Lotion by Mandy Patinkin. I would bring,
Okay.
what's his face? The comic, Joel Gray's father.
I can't say his name. Yes. Okay.
I
Did
would
she
bring
like his
funny
work?
material. Yeah. I would rub
Yeah.
her feet and dance for her, and
Oh, Mickey Katz, is that right?
Mickey Katz. Yeah.
Okay.
And it put a smile on her face, and music was the best way to communicate. That, and she
Yeah.
also loved milkshakes and stuff, which she never enjoyed when she didn't have Alzheimer's. For her, it was always healthy food, but I would bring up to her, Mom, what happened to the liver and all the healthy thing? Oh, I never liked that stuff.
And at that point, I am in a similar place with my mother, and I feel exactly the same way. And the music is the thing that connects the dots, and it's a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it really brings the life into their eyes.
Yeah.
And being genteel and understanding what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to watch your parent go, become less than they were.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of patience. And we were lucky enough to have 24/7 care, but I oversaw everything. And I don't regret it. I don't regret it one bit, 1 minute. It was a blessing. I wish my mama didn't have to go that way, but you deal with what you're handed and you make the best of it with love.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
My pleasure.
Anne and I, we have long been obsessed and infatuated with the idea of blood harmony, which for those who might not be familiar is essentially members of the same family often share similar bone structure and cavity shapes, so their resonance and tone is often remarkably similar. It's why families like the Gibbs and Hart and the Ronettes and the Carter family and the Williams brothers and the Pointer sisters and Liza and Lorna, they blend so well together. So 2 questions. Can Sheldon, your brother, sing? And what was it like when the family would sing together?
My brother didn't sing. No. In his later years, he took up the piano.
Okay, sweet.
And before he would go to work, he would have a piano lesson in the morning. And when I would visit, sometimes he would play and I would sing, but I always had to wait for him to do his fills.
You were like, come on, Sheldon.
My sister and I, as kids, we sang together. She told me how to harmonize, which I still never have become great at.
So
I have
hard.
to have the lead line.
I find that hard to
I
believe.
have to have the lead line. But there was a time when my sister, my mother, and I, with a tape recorder, we were singing together. And it was after my sister had moved away from home, and we were just singing, mother, daughter, whatever. At that time, I was in Hebrew school. And, I could sing all my songs from Hebrew school. My sister was singing, my mom sang, and we had to feed her the lyrics because God bless her, she never remembered the lyrics. And she would compare mother and daughter voices. And then it was my turn, and I would come up with zoom, gali, 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 zoom, gali, gali. Avodale manechalutz. It's like, or was it this? I have this other song that we used to sing in school. I've got sixpence, jolly, jolly sixpence. I've got sixpence to last me all my life. I got 2 cents to lend and 2 cents to spend and 2 cents to send them to my wife, poor wife. It was a song that never ended. And my sister would try to stop me. She would da da da. She would try to bring it through, and I just kept sailing through.
I love that.
But it was a cute afternoon.
Yeah.
It's a funny memory, and yeah, you cherish those moments because there's not enough of them. We don't, other than until I performed with her, we don't really sing together. The
Right.
And my nephew sings too now. My nephew.
Yeah, and you performed with Barbra and
Yes.
Jason in 2013 and 2012.
Yeah.
Like you were part of the tour.
Yeah, and it was great. It was great. So proud of him too.
Yeah, he just released an album. We're familiar. We were listening to it. We're into it. So, Roslyn, your theatrical credits include the Broadway musical review, 3 from Brooklyn, Show Me Where the Good Times Are, a Jewish Rep, Ferguson the Tailor at the Pasadena Playhouse, the Elegies by William
Beverly Hills Playhouse.
Ferguson at the Tailor at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. All right, we're correcting it here. Elegies by William Finn at Lincoln Center, and one of my personal favorites.
Center. Elegies at Lincoln Center? No. This was at a one-night fundraiser at a big room, a temple room, not a religious temple, but a big theater. Had a big theater, and it was a one-night fundraiser.
Okay, I'm glad that I'm getting this corrected for the internet where I'm doing my research.
And did you just say I sang there, or I performed? Yeah, or
you performed in Elegies.
Oh. I did a scene.
But not at Lincoln Center.
Having to do with the scene where my boss, a woman, had gotten AIDS, and she was dying, and I was working for her, and I sang, I don't know I don't know how to help you, was the name of the song. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a recent addition to the show at that time. It was everybody was like crying.
Right. It's like a it's like connected to 9/11. Yes, Elegies.
No. The AIDS
crisis. One of my personal favorites of your theatrical credits is Leader of the Pack, the jukebox musical about the life of Ellie Greenwich. I have some questions. So you appeared in the off-Broadway version before it transferred with Dinah Manoff. My understanding as the musical started, no, you're shaking your head, but wait, my understanding is that it started as a 6-person show, then expanded, and then it went to Broadway, but it had Darlene Love, Ellie Greenwich herself was in it, Annie Golden, Jasmine Guy. Where were you in this?
Before I did it. I did it in Calgary, Canada at Stage West.
Oh, okay.
Got it. Okay.
With Andrew Stevens. And we were held over another month. But that's where I played Ellie.
That's incredible. So you played Ellie in Calgary. I love that show. I have the vinyl of it. Mm-hmm. I just feel like it sort of is like Broadway lore. So I love that you were part of it.
Yeah, no, it was great to play. And we had some Canadian cast, and Andrew Stevens and I were from USA.
Is there any theater roles? Is there any version of a musical theater role or a theater role that you would be interested in coming back to the stage for? Or at this point, do you think
I don't
not
know.
So much?
I kind of would like to, if I do that, I'd like to do something new. But I mean, I used to love, of course, I love my sister's musicals. I loved Hello, Dolly. Applause. I wanted to play Eve in Applause. The night I went, when I was in my teens, it's like I was in the 10th row center, and I was just, my eyes couldn't stop. I was like, well, damn you, daddy. Look at you, little girl. Now, he was twitchy and bitchy and manic, calm and collected, no sign of panic.
Love.
It's so good.
I loved it. And I was so thrilled when I got to meet Penny years later, when we were both going to perform at 54 Below on different nights.
You were last at 54 Below, I think, in 2015?
2015.
17?
2015.
Yeah. We got to get you back.
Yeah, we need to come see you when you come back.
And since the pandemic, I still, other than a fundraiser for the Billy Barnes Foundation a month ago, or was it 2 months ago? It was in May or June. And I closed the show with If I Stay Too Long at the Fair. That's the first thing I've done on live stage. All I've been doing is doing my videos and putting them out there. And now I'm going to be going into the studio to record an original song written for me by World's First Cinema. And I have to learn it now. I have 3 weeks to learn it. I'm going to go in the studio. And hopefully
Nice.
the original, that's going to be a little more updated to today's sound.
Okay.
You know,
That's great.
to stretch. I love to stretch.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So as we've mentioned, your older sister is Barbra Streisand, and you seem to have a sense of humor about this because you play yourself in this incredible episode of The Nanny where you send up your famous sister. Like, how did the producers approach you, and how did they get you on board to sort of lampoon the whole situation?
A friend of mine who also did a special with me called Ladies of the Nightclub, which never got released.
Oh, I was looking for it. Okay, I'm glad to know this.
Never got released. I do have on one of my reels on my page. It's me doing this comedy thing from King Henry the Eighth or some sixth or something. Oh my Lord, why am I thus alone? For what offense have I this fortnight been a banished woman on my Harry's bed? I just did it without breath. Wait. So I have that piece of it, but it never got released. And Frida Payne and I did a duet of she did When You Wish Upon a Star, and I did Never Neverland. I don't know. There was a whole lot of hubbub because they never got the licensing from Disney and stuff. So it never got released. But wait, what was the question?
The Nanny.
I got trailed off in my brain.
How did they approach
The
you?
Nanny.
How did you make it happen?
So one of our cast members was writing temporarily for The Nanny. And I went to a taping one night and she introduced me. And I also knew Renee Taylor. So lo and behold, this and that and that and this. And the whole thing with her was that she loved my sister, right?
Right.
So they came up with a storyline. And that's how that happened.
You're so funny in it. I was squealing. I mean, I loved it. I think it was so funny, and also you sound so great at singing at the piano at the beginning, like the cold open. It's excellent.
Well, thank you. And that's the song we wrote. That's an original song.
Love that.
It's great. So your sister last year released her 900-page memoir. Did you fact check any of it? Did you read or listen to it, or you said I was there for some of this?
I said I was there for some of it. Some of it I was new to me too.
Right.
900 pages, some of it was new to me. I said, my God, I never knew that.
Right.
Because I was baby sister. So when my sister left home, I was still in grade school. I mean, I remember we both went to PS 89. And when she was in wholesale and I went to the opening night, I came back and they made a big thing of them telling me where Roz was last night. Because we had the same principal, we had the same math teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I think about what it would be if my sister wrote a 900-page book. I would be like, wow, I didn't know a lot of this. This is a wild listen.
Give the baby sister. Sometimes they save you from certain things they don't want you to.
Exactly.
It's okay to read.
Right. Years later. So we had mentioned this earlier, but you were in this Broadway review called Three from Brooklyn, where you were tasked with opening your section with People, a song that Barbra made famous in Funny Girl. Was that daunting? Was that an interesting challenge to sort of like spin it, make your own stamp on it?
No, I really was against it myself. They wanted it. But it's homage to my sister. I never thought of myself that I'm anything other than her sister, and I'm doing, but they requested that.
Got it.
Was there also a portion was there like a Judy moment? Was there a moment where we were trying to find whatever we could, and they said there's a moment where you sit at the edge of the stage, sort of like Judy at the palace, and I was very into
when
that.
I did Meadowlark, because I did my version of Meadowlark.
Nice.
I wanted to do it. See, they had me standing up. I said, I really feel like I want to sit at the edge of the stage.
Yeah.
And tell the story. And actually the star of the show, Sal Richards, was doing something on Jolson and he was going down on his knee and it wasn't working. So the producer said to me, Roz, you're getting the center stage on the floor. And he fought it. He did not want me to do it. He did not want me to do it.
We need to see footage of this review. We were digging for it.
Yeah. We kind of stopped the show.
Do you get B-roll of things like that, in a show, like in a Broadway show? Do you ever get access to that for your personal archives or no?
You mean tape on it? No, I never got tape on it. When you do a show, unless there's it goes through your union and everything, and your stage manager has to okay it. Everybody has to sign on that they're taping the show. Because that happened. We wanted tapes of Leader of the Pack also, and we were not able to do it. We wanted tapes of Ferguson the Tailor. They wouldn't let us do it.
I appreciate that everyone's trying to respect the unions and, us
Yeah.
too, but it is frustrating, just for
Yeah, I would have
posterity.
loved to have pieces of that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's important. It's been important to like the history of it all,
right.
So, Roslyn, you cameo in the 1976 A Star is Born as an attendee at the Grammy Awards, and you also appear in 1979's The Main Event as an aerobics dancer. Which day on set was more grueling for you, being in a leotard and working out on camera, or being in like a black tie attire and watching Chris Christopherson like fall down drunk over and over again at the awards?
Which one was grueling for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, was like were you like, I'm sick of being here in my leotard dancing, or like
It
I'm
was
sick of sitting
fun.
here? You had a
We
good
were all
time.
women that we went to that exercise class, my sister and I. She went and she schlepped me. So we both went together. I would pick her up and we would go in the morning.
Okay, love.
No, it was fun. It was fun. And then, with the Star is Born, I would have loved to be on set for a lot more, but actually I read for the part of the girl that gets in the car with him, the girl that's high.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
too. And I read it 7 or 8 different ways for Diane Crittenden, and she said, "Rozzie, you're great, but you sound too much like your sister. People won't."
Ugh, so annoying.
So frustrating.
Okay, so you have this great role where you appear as starlet Kitty March in Paul Leader's I'm Going to Be Famous, this independent film. And Kitty is this big-voiced ingenue who gets to bring the house down with these 2 wonderful songs, in my opinion, Happily Ever After and You'll Never Know How I Feel by Jay Asher. The film is really a lovely showcase for your vocals, but in our research, we were like reading about how you're like cut your teeth as a live performer. So what was it like when you then went to work on film, where you really had to sell like the lip sync to your own track? Or did you sing live in those takes?
I sang live for Happily Ever After. I may have I can't remember. I think I may have lip synced for the theater piece.
We were so happy. We were so happy to discover that credit.
Yeah, maybe either that, because Brooks Arthur, may rest in peace, was in the studio with us doing Happily Ever After. I can't remember. Did I lip sync both? Maybe, I don't know. I can't.
I love Happily Ever After. I think it's beautiful.
Thank you. I'll tell Jay.
Do you have to prep differently when there's a close shot of you singing as opposed to singing live for an audience where sometimes you're selling it to the back of the house? Like, do you think of it differently, or is the approach the same?
The approach is the same. I just connect to the audience. I mean, although in the theater, in the film, there was nobody. It's my imagination that there are people there applauding. It's all in my head.
Right.
The camera, you have to. No, I just am aware of where the camera's going to move, but I try to be into my lyrics so that I let them worry about it. I don't want to veer off where I'm supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? That's why you have a DP and a director.
Totally.
And if I live my song, and they take care of the angles, it will come to be.
Okay, Roslyn Kind, we've reached the part of the show we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for Damien and I. You can take as much time as you need. It just lets us get every last credit in so we can get you out of here, but we got to get it all in, okay? All right, Roslyn, you were the musical guest on Elliot Gould's 1977 episode of Saturday Night Live. How did that come to be, and where was the after party? Was it wild?
I don't remember an after party.
No?
I don't remember an after party. I remember shopping for that dress with my friend Tony Chase, may rest in peace, who became Dolly Parton's customer. I went back with him when we were both teenagers, not in the same high school, but we studied for the Regents exams together.
Love.
That's sweet.
So he went shopping with me to get that antique dress and the hair and all that. And
it's
Elliot
beautiful.
brought me on. And you did introduce me as my son Jason's Aunt Rozzie.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, I thought that was very sweet.
I love that because I love family. I really love that. But he brought me on.
Roslyn, it appears that you have a Tamara de Lampica painting in your Zoom background that we saw in an interview. Did you see the recent Broadway musical about her life?
No, I didn't.
You have to. I need to talk about it with you.
Really? Wow. Where is it playing?
Well, it closed now, unfortunately, but...
How can I see it? Damien, how can I see it? You have it on tape? Did somebody allow them to tape it?
They may have found somebody to tape it. It was sort of like there was a lot of buzz around it because it was a new musical, not based on anything prior, all original new music, a new story. It was very queer. So Damien saw it, and we clocked the De Lampica in your background. I
The
said,
De
"Maybe she's a
Lampica
fan."
just is my sister's. Okay. Now she wanted it back for whatever reason, so she gave me another one, which I still haven't hung yet.
Oh my God, that's so
I
funny.
needed to fill the space. It's right.
So you're saying it's an
It
original?
was a print. It wasn't a print.
Okay.
But now I have a different one,
okay.
which will be hanging here soon. It's called The Singer or The
Yeah.
Entertainer or something.
Okay, love.
Right.
I fell in
Yes,
love
okay, I
with,
know that.
so.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, her work is beautiful. Her work
Yes.
really
Oh
is
my God,
stunning.
Lampica. My brother used to collect her also. I had friends that collected Lampica, and she wrote the book. She wrote the book. I mean, her daughter or her granddaughter wrote the book.
Oh, I haven't read that. Did you read it?
I
Was it
looked through
interesting?
it. It's really
Yeah.
interesting. My sister knows all about it. My brother.
Yeah. I feel like she's having a renaissance now too because Madonna really loved her as well and used her as inspiration in some of her stuff. Anyway, I'm into it. Okay, Roslyn, you appeared in a pilot with Shelley Long called Ghost of a Chance that never went to air. Years ago, Oprah asked Bette Midler what it was like working with Shelley Long, and Bette famously replied, "Pretty rough. What say you?"
Oh wow. Yeah, it was when I got my ABC, ABC Paramount contract, and I read for her role too, but I was too ethnic.
Oh
So
my God.
I actually got placed as they wrote in Austin and Irma Kalish role in the role of the best girlfriend. So almost like that wasn't originally in the pilot.
Crazy.
So they wrote me in that I would have been if the show went, then I would have been a runoff with Archie Hahn on another series.
Yeah.
So it did get shown, once when they do a pilot and they show it on the air.
Right.
Yeah, it was so funny because it was we talking about being in camera for the first time. I was like, where do I look? Where do I this? And being a newbie, I listen. I don't, I
Yeah.
listen. I want to feel my oats and see. And we had readings at the table, and I would listen to people reading and the suggestions, and then we would come back the next day and get critiqued. And it was so funny because I said to myself the day before in the reading that Shelley really could not read to be a blue collar girl with a mother. Oh, shut up, Ma. She didn't. She was too Midwest.
Yeah.
And I said, oh my God, I
Yeah.
would have done that. Because
Right.
it's not an insult. It's just how people talk in the East Coast, right? Oh,
Right.
Ma, leave
Right.
me alone, for crying out loud. It's like, and Gretchen Weiler, may she rest in peace, was on the show. And she and I said, I wish you and I would have told the money. But you can't say that. But yeah, I mean, she wasn't easy to get friendly with.
Okay.
Friendly kind of gal. But Stephen Keats was great. Archie Hahn was great. Barry Van Dyke.
Yeah.
And Gretch was wonderful.
Roslyn, we also love Florence Henderson here, and you have a cameo in the Hallmark film Ladies of the House with Florence, Donna Mills, and Pam Grier. You also appeared on Florence's daytime talk show. Were you pals? Like, how did this come to be?
I can't remember what I did first. I think I might have done Ladies of the House first. I met Flo. Oh my God, how did I meet Flo? At events that we both attended. And then we found each other meeting with friends after at the same place to have a drink after, or, a cocktail or a coffee or something.
Yeah.
And we got friendly. Then I'm on Ladies of the House with her and Donna Mills, who I met when I was performing at a cancer function. John Wayne Cancer. I was the performer, and that was the first time I met Donna. God, Flo. Yeah, but it was so great having that experience with her and then being invited to do her show. It was so great. She's funny. She's very funny. I loved her. Gosh, she was great.
One of the exciting things we were happy to learn was that you took dance classes in Manhattan with the legendary Luigi, who we've long known about. So he was the first founder of jazz dance technique, and lots of famous people over the course of decades took his classes. Tell me about him and those iconic days, like in studio.
Well, actually, Elliot brought me there because he had studied with him, and I was 14. I was
Okay.
14 years old, and
Wow.
he brought me. And Bernadette Peters was in the class. I mean, Richard Chamberlain followed me when he was doing Breakfast at Tiffany's that didn't really last long. And
Yeah.
he was coming to class.
Right.
Let me tell you what that guy looked like in leotards. Oy,
He is
killer,
stunning. He
killer,
was stunning.
killer. And when I was a kid,
Yeah.
I used to watch Back to Kildare. So he would put his shoes under my bed anytime, you know.
Right.
And he was following me in class. I remember that when I first started, I was in the back of the room until I got my oats, and then I was in the front, you know. And I remember him having one day he wasn't so happy, it wasn't working so well, and I said, "Don't worry." I said, "Don't worry, it'll be better tomorrow." He said, "Who's worried?" And until he came back, I thought he was mad at me. I shared that story with him years later when we met again here in LA.
Yeah.
But it was, oh my God, the classes. I was a teenager. I had a lot of older people in my class. Um, oh my God, artists were in that class. And there was a guy named Claude that played piano. And every time I came in the room, he would say, "This is my first affair, so please be kind." But everybody loved Luigi. He had just the easy style. And it was like ballet, but without a bar. I had a balance. I still have my Luigi hands. I talk about it all the time when I'm on stage. My hands just automatically flow into that. And he stretched me. He put his knee one day in my lower back, and I never made a curve back again. From that point on, my chest hit the floor. I mean, unbelievable and funny. And you realize that he came to do this because it's what got him out of, he had a car accident that crippled him, that he paralyzed on one side, which part of half of his face still was. But dancing and the dance moves, and he, sublime. And I loved hanging out with him and my mother was so mad because I'd come home late from class because I couldn't wait till the bell rang so I could get my leotards and go. And then I was there. I would take sometimes 2 classes and come home at 11 o'clock at night because we'd sometimes go to Bickford's, or there was a dim sum place. And I would come home and I'd have to do homework, and my mother would turn the lights out on me. And Luigi and Rhett Dennis and Ronnie DeMarco all came to my Sweet 16 birthday party.
Oh my God.
But I loved hanging. There was just the graceful. Lonnie Ackerman was in the class. So many. Oh God. And women came from all over. There were a Japanese segment that came. There was German dancers that came to study with him. Patrick Ediardi and what's her name from the Hullabaloo were in the classes. Remember Hullabaloo?
Oh my God. I was trying to remember, you said Lonnie Ackerman. She was an understudy in Evita, right? Her vocals are insane. I didn't know she was also like an accomplished dancer. It's so cool. Everybody went to those classes.
She must have had ballet training before because she was very, very oriented. But it was great, and it was a fabulous time in my life. He always said, even when he came to my concert in 2012, he wanted, it's like, come back to class. He thought I should be a dancer. He always told me I should be a dancer, which is why it was so important for me to have a dancer playing my role in my video.
I love that.
Roslyn, you appear in the film Switched at Birth. So the question is, if you could Freaky Friday body swap with one person in all of history for a day, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, body swap. You're asking me stuff I would never even think of.
Well, that's what we're here to do. We're journalists.
Body swap. Oh God, just any girl with a magnificent figure.
Wait, you have an awesome figure. Your body is banging.
Well, I don't think so.
I know, we all have our stuff. I mean, the long legs, I always loved my sister's long legs. She was thin. She could wear white tights, which I couldn't, just to have longer limbs and
a graceful. I was graceful, but I was, stocky. I'm still
Yeah.
stocky, and I'm not as tall as I was. There's such a thing. You shrink when you get older, you know.
I know.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really
yeah.
does happen. It's very odd.
Okay, Roslyn, in 1984, you were interviewed by Skip E. Lowe, a famous interviewer and known as the inspiration for Martin Short's Jiminy Glick. How was Skip off camera, and do you know who Jiminy Glick is?
Played by Martin Short,
Yeah.
and I was the inspiration for that. Well, he was the inspiration for that.
Skip Lowe
Skippy
was.
Lowe,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
would be interesting.
How was Skip off camera when you weren't
He
shooting with
was
him?
sweet, but he was a little over the. He's a little over
Yeah.
the edge. You know what I mean? He couldn't have been sweeter,
Yeah.
but
He was
Yeah.
such a character.
yeah, total character. I remember him. The music would start, this music, and his face would come over the thing. And he's looking at the sign. It was like,
I really am excited to send you Martin Short's Jiminy Glick character because once I found out it was based on Skippy Lowe, I was like, oh, this makes total sense. It's one of my favorite things that Martin Short does.
yeah, he always wore an ascot.
Yes, it was such a look. Okay, Roslyn Kind, last question. You were in 5 episodes of the Nell Carter sitcom Gimme a Break, and you played seemingly a different character in each season. What was that set like, and how did they keep bringing you back as a new character in each season?
Did you remember? Would you have remembered if you didn't do it?
I mean, in your first 2 episodes, you're like in school, and James
With
Cromwell
my
is
husband,
maybe like your
was my
beau.
husband.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. And I was with another woman who I actually did acting workshops with on another one, and then I was a neighbor or something, or
You were standing in line at like at a book signing at one. Then you were in a mall. But I was like, oh, you are doing character
yeah,
work here
definitely.
each season. How did that work out?
It was a great set. It was fun. Everybody was lovely. The girls in the makeup room loved making up my eyes because they said I had so much room to work with up there. Now so much, I don't know. But they used to love doing my eyes. And everybody, was lovely. The girls on the show, just like when I look to have fun. As long as everybody is not narcissistic and bullying and everybody's enjoying the projects, which is what I loved about my own project, because it was a happy, loving set. As long as you have that, that's all that matters, to do your best work. And as long as nobody's got sick on the set, like a couple of times on Nell's, this flu went around.
Oh, God.
That-
Horrible.
She was such a singer. Was there any talk of you ever? They knew you sang. They didn't want to bring you on as a singer?
No, it was an acting piece. And at that time,
Yeah.
it was the guy I was dating, my ex-husband, was the casting person.
Okay.
And I remember going with him when he was teaching a workshop, and I went and sat in the back, and these kids in the room would say, "Oh boy, you're so lucky. You probably get everything." I said, well, "Let me tell you something, honey. Nepotism does not really work for me. It never has. Just because he's my husband doesn't mean I would get cast on something if I wasn't meant to have it or somebody wanted me.
Right.
With some people that works. I've never been akin to that.
Well, you've also crafted your own way, which is a beautiful thing.
I never wanted to be on anybody's coattails. And you have to, and no matter what, in the end, you always have to come through that door on your own.
Exactly. So we're going to link out to the new project, A Look of Love / The Island. Please go watch and listen to it. Roslyn Kind, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you. It was fun. Did I answer everything okay?
You did beautifully. Thank you for bearing with us.
Where to begin? So many things to unpack from the Roslyn Kind interview. One of my favorites was talking to her about her making of her short film, The Look of Love, The Island, because we talked about like actors who sing and singers who act and how she thinks of it as like one talent. And I laughed when I was listening back to it because I was sort of like, You know what? I'm going to say who I was thinking of. I was thinking of Jennifer Hudson. I was thinking about how Jennifer Hudson is like a really good actor when she is singing.
Yeah.
Like she connects to the words. I also heard a rumor that Jennifer Hudson, like on the set of that movie that she made about Aretha Franklin, what was it called? Respect? I never saw it.
Respect, yeah, same.
I heard that she would sing prior to walking into her scene work. So I think she must know it, and I'm sure she works with some sort of method that plays into that strength of hers of like,
Right.
I use music to get to where I need to be emotionally. But that's what I was thinking of, is like someone who I feel like is so not necessarily always connected to like dialogue, like the words they're saying, unless there's music behind them. Because I think other people, like we always are talking about how much we love Tyne Daly and wish we had seen her Roses turn. And remember, they were going to replace Tyne in Gypsy in Florida with Michelle Lee or Lainey Kazan.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
And then
That was
she
so
got
fucked
great
up. Yeah.
reviews, and everyone was like, who cares that she can't sing? Like, she's not a singer. She's a person who can, like, kind of carry a tune, but she's acting the fuck out of it. So I feel like I was trying to relate that back to Roslyn Kind without saying anyone's names because I didn't want to be, like, nasty.
Sure.
I guess I'm fine doing that in the safety of me and you. But I love that she was like, LOL, I'm not familiar with like that inability. And I said, you better work, Rosalind. I love Roslyn Kind.
It was such a flex, and I feel it kind of was surreal sitting and talking to her. Also, my favorite that was going through the Tamara de Lempicka. Look, we had a lot of starts and stops with this because we had so many sidebars. We really had to restrain ourselves. But getting into the Tamara de Lempicka and then being like, oh, that was from my sister, and now I've replaced it with something else.
Loved.
And then us trying to correct the record about her theatrical career, which is like, look, we left it in, folks, because it felt like an important part of history, because you cannot trust the internet. And sometimes when your only record is, you know, our internet research, we have to make sure that we're correcting the record. And so I felt like we let that in to sort of hear how the sausage is made. Yes, the internet confused Bill Finn's Elegies for Angels, Punks, and Raging Queens, and those are two different projects. One is about AIDS and one is about 9/11.
Yeah, I agree. It's important we're correcting the record. And, you know, like, Rosalind appeared in the Broadway review, Three from Brooklyn, and she had to sing People, a song that made famous by her sister. Like,
Right.
One, annoying, but also two, there's no record of it. So getting to talk to her about, like, is there archival footage? Do you have a bootleg of yourself doing this? And she was like, no.
Right.
I want it, but it doesn't, like, we're not allowed. Like, I forget what the rule is. Like, how, like, Lampicka was probably filmed because I feel like it ran long enough, but I forget how long something needs to run in order for it to qualify for getting filmed for.
Right. And I heard Tammy Faye, on the other hand, was not taped. It didn't stay open long enough to get taped for the museum. So
Three from Brooklyn had 45 performances and 8 previews. I don't know if that's enough. It might not be.
we're gonna have to go to the archive and see. This is a sort of nitty-gritty theatrical.
What's what we would want? So
sleuthing
why?
that
Of
we're
course,
here
that's
for.
of course. You know me.
It's what we do.
Me trying to watch Flahooly and Not Here Lies Love. What's it called? Here's Love. What a terrible title for a musical. Do you guys know what Here's
Horrible,
Love is,
horrible.
folks? It's it has been retitled by the Meredith Willson estate as Miracle on 34th Street, the musical now, but it was originally titled Here's Love. And there are some incredible songs on this score. I mean, Meredith Willson is most famous for The Music Man, which to me is like, I think is like chock full of standards. It is chock full of
Bangers,
bops.
yep.
And I think that Here's Love is not, I mean, obviously it's not as influential. No one really knows of it. But I think there are a lot of great songs, and it seems like bad branding. Also, like, why is it not being revived instead of Elf and the Grinch coming back every year?
Such a great point. And if they're going to revive anything, it should be White Christmas with Lorna Luft. But Damien, you know, I love flops too, but Damien is really a person that likes to dig deep into the flop verse of musicals. And I feel like one of the things I'll be doing on my trip home for the holidays this season is learning Here's Love. And I feel like those are the kind of assignments that we'll put on the Patreon if anybody wants to join us there. I would love to be discussing flop musicals. Before we close up shop on Miss Roslyn Kind, I just wanted to say one thing, and that is that this interview was obviously recorded a couple of months ago, and I feel like I was really moved by the fact that I was able to sort of talk to Roslyn about the care that she provided for her mother who was suffering from Alzheimer's. And that was obviously something that I haven't talked about on the podcast, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to, but it was a beautiful moment that felt organic and true. And it was why I said what I said to her in the moment. And those moments are sometimes few and far between. It's harder to have those connections over Zoom these days, but I felt like it spoke to the true conversation that we were having with Roslyn about music and family and love and what it all means. And I feel really grateful for the ability to have had that conversation with her. It feels like it's historical for us, and it's historical for me personally. So just wanted to get that tidbit in there. And I feel really grateful for the podcast, for all of the things it has offered me, but in particular that it has offered me this fall.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Anne. We love you. And Anne and I love all of you. Thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting us. You might know her from us in an independently produced podcast brought to you by us, also known as Duck You Dragon. The best way to support us is by supporting us at the Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/YouMightKnowHerFrom, where you can get lots of goodies, newsletters, special interviews, special episodes about wild things that only us, our tight little family, care about.
And of course, follow us on social media. We're at Damien Bellino. That's Damien with an A, and Rodeman, Rodemanne. And please, most importantly, follow us on You Might Know Her From on TikTok and Instagram. We will be loading up in the new year. I know, look, times is tough, and it is what it is, but we will be back on social media in a more prodigious way in the new year. Of course, we want to thank Gang. Every piece of music you hear on each and every episode of You Might Know Her From is courtesy of Gang. They're 3/4 women. They are from Philadelphia. We love Gang. Go find them wherever you stream your music. And did you know that I put things in the show notes? That is beneath the episode description. I take a lot of time to put them together, so it's an archival piece of history. Dig in.
What's your favorite Christmas song?
Oh, okay.
You have to choose one for the purpose of this conversation.
Oh, yeah, I was going to have qualifiers, but, you know, when it gets down to it, it's probably an obvious answer, but it's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
I knew it would be the answer that you would give me.
Now, my first thought was I want a hippopotamus for Christmas, but I thought, let's be honest with ourselves in terms of like, what do I think is the best song and what holds the highest place in my heart that when it comes on, I'm having the most Christmassy moment and it brings me a lot of joy. And I wouldn't say sorrow. I would say it holds like what the holidays hold for me. In particular this year is I think that bittersweet notion. I think that's what the song captures very well. But it's hard because I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas is all of the kitsch and like horror and strangeness of like a child singing a Christmas song that I love about the holidays. Just like I feel like that taps into something very feral for me about Christmas. So, you know, I know we're not qualifying. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, I think, is hands down my favorite. What is yours?
Well, now I want to qualify now that it's being turned back on me.
Sorry.
But I feel like my quick answer will be Sleigh Ride by the Ronettes.
Yeah. It's a perfect song. It's a perfect orchestration. It's a perfect arrangement.
Yeah, I really have a soft spot for the Phil Spector Christmas album. I think it's pretty much top to bottom excellent.
Yes.
Also, of course, I love the Ronettes and Ronnie Spector, as you would have come to that conclusion based on my ailing dog that I love them. I think Ronnie Spector has such a cool and interesting voice. I love that she was so associated with Christmas, even in her later years. And I think that it is just a cool and fun interpretation of a song that otherwise is kind of like whatever. So I love it.
100% agree. If you're interested, we will be putting together a clip list on the Patreon of most holiday-ish vids that will get you in the holiday spirit. So find us there. We love you. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Auld Lang Syne.